So today I'm going to do a poem that was a request. Like with the last video, I mentioned I'm going to be doing a poetry video every week for the month of April because it's National Poetry Writing Month. So I have a few requests that I wanted to get through first, and hopefully by the end of the month I will have a poem that I've written this month that I can share with you guys. But so this was one who I unfortunately didn't get the name of the person who requested it, but whoever did, very good job. I'm pretty impressed with some of you guys' requests because it's consistently been good stuff. This was also a poem that was by a poet who I'm not super familiar with, so I did some research and I found some interesting stuff. So the poet for today's poem is Algernon Swineburne, and he was a Victorian era poet from England, and he was known for writing about a lot of pretty taboo topics, especially for the time. Such topics include lesbianism, cannibalism, sadomasochism, anti-theism, atheism, dystheism. So atheism meaning no God, anti-theism meaning like God is bad, religion is bad, and dystheism, which apparently is a phrase that came up about, especially around reference to his poems, but basically the idea that there can be God or gods or goddesses, but that God is not necessarily all good. I think probably the best example of this that I can think of is in Greek mythology about how, even Zeus, the king of the gods, would cheat on his wife. So the gods may not necessarily be all loving and all good like the Christian and etc. gods would lead you to believe. So he also had common motifs that came up in his poetry, such as the ocean and time and death and love, and he's had several poems that are about well-known historical people, and that includes one of his most famous poems, Anactoria. Now, Anactoria is not a particularly well-known, not someone you would consider if you're thinking historical figures, but keep in mind this was back in Victorian England. Gandhi and MLK were not exactly around yet, so Anactoria is the name of a woman who was a lover of the poet Sappho. Now, Sappho was an ancient Greek poet from the island of Lesbos, and if you have heard words like sapphic and lesbian, both in reference to female homosexuality, you will already know pretty much what you need to know about Sappho. But Anactoria was a woman who Sappho had written about, and this poem, Anactoria by Algernon Swineburne, is sort of from the perspective of Sappho, where she's addressing Anactoria in a whole bunch of imagery that includes a lot of the taboo subjects that Algernon Swineburne wrote about generally, but like I mentioned, lesbianism is obvious, but sadomasochism, cannibalism, dystheism. So, and it's a really long poem, so I'm going to wet my throat a little bit before I begin. My life is bitter with thy love. Thine eyes blind me, thy tresses burn me, thy sharp sighs divide my flesh and spirit with soft sound, and my blood strengthens and my veins abound. I pray thee, sigh not, speak not, draw not breath, let life burn down and dream it is not death. I would the sea had hidden us the fire, wilt thou fear that? Fear not my desire. Severed the bones that bleach the flesh that cleaves, and let our sifted ashes drop like leaves. I feel thy blood against my blood, my pain pains thee, and lips bruise lips, and vein stings vein. Let fruit be crushed on fruit, let flower on flower, breast kindle breast, and either burn 1 hour. Why wilt thou follow lesser loves? Are thine too weak to bear these hands and lips of mine? I charge thee for my life's sake, oh, too sweet to crush love with thy cruel, faultless feet. I charge thee, keep thy lips from hers or his, sweetest till theirs be sweeter than my kiss. Lest I too lure a swallow for a dove, Erosion or Erinia to my love, I would my love could kill thee. I am satiated with seeing thee live, and fain would have thee dead. I would earth had thy body as fruit to eat, and no mouth but some serpents found thee sweet. I would find grievous ways to have thee slain, intense device and superflux of pain, vex thee with amorous agonies, and shake life at thy lips and leave it there to ache, stain out thy soul with pangs too soft to kill, intolerable interludes and infinite ill. Relapse and reluctation of the breath, dumb tunes and shuddering semitones of death, I'm weary of all thy words and soft strange ways, of all love's fiery nights and all his days, and all the broken kisses salt as brine, that shuddering lips make moist with waterish wine, and eyes the bluer for all those hidden hours that pleasure fills with tears and feeds from flowers, fierce at the heart with fire that half comes through, but all the flower like white stained round with blue, the fervent underlid and that above, lifted with laughter or abashed with love, thine amorous girdle full of thee and fair, and leavings of lilies in thine hair. Yea, all sweet words of thine, and all thy ways, and all the fruit of night and flower of days, and stinging lips wherein the hot sweet brine that love was born of burns and foams like wine, and eyes insatiable of amorous hours, fervent as fire and delicate as flowers, colored like night at heart, but cloven through like night with flame, dyed round and night with blue, clothed with deep eyelids under and above. Yea, all thy beauty sickens me with love. Thy girdle empty of thee and now not fair, and ruinous lilies in thy languid hair. Ah, take no thought, for love's sake shall this be, and she who loves thy lover not love thee. Sweet soul, sweet mouth of all that laughs and lives, mine is she, very mine, and she forgives. For I beheld in sleep the light that is in her place, in Paphos heard the kiss of body and soul that mix with eager tears, and laughter stinging through the eyes and ears, saw love as burning flame from crown to feet, imperishable upon her storied seat, clear eyelids lifted toward the north and south, a mind of many colors and a mouth of many tunes and kisses she bowed, with all her subtle faces laughed aloud, bowed down upon me, saying, Who doth thee wrong, Sappho? But thou, thy body is the song, thy mouth the music, thou art more than I, thou my voice die, not till till the whole world die. Though men that hear it madden, though love weep, though nature change, though shame be charmed to sleep. Ah, wilt thou slay me, lest I kiss thee dead? Yet the queen laughed from her sweetheart and said, even she that flies shall follow for thy sake, and she shall give thee gifts that would not take, shall kiss that would not kiss thee, yea, kiss me, when thou wouldst not, when I would not kiss thee. Ah, sweet to me as life seems sweet to death, why should her wrath fill thee with fearful breath? Nay, sweet, for is she God alone? Hath she made earth and all the centuries of the sea, taught the sun ways to ravel, woven most fine, the moonbeams shed the starbeams forth as wine, bound with her myrtles, beaten with her rods, the young men and the maidens and the gods? Have we not lips to love, with eyes for tears, and summer and flower of women and of years, stars for the foot of morning, and for noon sunlight and exaltation of the moon, waters that answer waters, fields that wear lilies and languor of lesbian air? Beyond these flying feet of fluttered doves, are there not gods for other loves? Yea, though she scourge thee, sweetest, for my sake, blossom not thorns, and flowers not blood should break. Ah, that my lips were tuneless lips pressed to the bruised blossom of thy scourged white breast. Ah, that my mouth for muse's milk were fed, on the sweet blood thy small sweet wounds had bled, that with my tongue felt them, and could taste the faintest flakes from thy bosom to the waist, that I could drink thy veins as wine, and eat thy breasts like honey, that from face to feet thy body were abolished and consumed, and in my flesh thy very flesh entombed. Ah, ah, thy beauty like a beast it bites, stings like adder, like an arrow smites. Ah, sweet, and sweet again, and 7 times sweet. The paces and the pauses of thy feet, ah, sweeter than all sleep or summer air, thy fallen fillets fragrant from thine hair. Yea, though their alien kisses do me wrong, sweeter thy lips than mine with all their song. Thy shoulders whiter than a fleece of white, and flowers sweet fingers good to bruise or bite, as honeycomb of the inmost honey cells, with almond-shaped and rose-leaf-colored shells, and blood like purple blossom at the tips, quivering in pain, made perfect in thy lips. For my sake, when I hurt thee, oh, that I durst crush thee out of life with love and die of thy pain and my delight, and be mixed with thy blood and molten into thee. Would I not plague thee dying overmuch? Would I not hurt thee perfectly, not touch thy pores of sense with torture, and make bright thine eyes with blood-like tears and grievous light? Strike pang from pang as note is struck from note, catch the sob's middle music in thy throat, take thy limbs living and new mold with these, lyre of many faultless agonies. Feed thee with fever and famine and fine douth, with perfect pangs convulse thy perfect mouth, make thy life shudder in thee and burst afresh, and wiring thy very spirit through the flesh. Cruel, but love makes all that love him well, as wise as heaven and crueler than hell. Me hath love made more bitter toward thee than death toward man, but were I made as he who hath made all things to break them one by one, if my feet trod upon the stars and sun and souls of men as his have always trod, God knows that I might be crueler than God. who shall change with prayers or thanksgivings the mystery of cruel things, or say what God above all God in years, with offering and blood sacrifice of tears, with lamentation from strange lands, from the graves, where the snakes of pastures, from scarred mouths of slaves, from prison and from plunging prows of ships, through flame like foam of sea closing lips, with thwartings of strange signs and wind-blown hair, of comics desolating the dim air, when the darkness is made fast with seals and bars, and fierce reluctant of disastrous stars. Eclipse and sound of shaken hills and wings, darkening and blind, inexpiable things. Sorrows of laboring moons and altering light, and travail of the planets of the night, and weeping of the weary Pleiades 7, feeds the mute melancholy lust of heaven. Is not his incense bittersweet, his meat murder, his hidden face and iron feet? Have not man known and felt them on their way, threatened and trample all things and every day? Hath he not sent us hunger, who hath cursed spirit and flesh with longing, filled with thirst, their lips who cried unto him, who bade exceed the fervid will, fall short the feeble deed, bade sink the spirit and flesh aspire, pain animate the dust of dead desire, and life yield up her flower to violent fate? Him I would reach, him smite, him desecrate, pierce the cold lips of God with human breath, and mix immortality with death. Why hath he made us? What have we all done, that we should live and loathe this sterile sun, and with the moon wax paler as she wanes, and pulse by pulse feel time grow within our veins? Thee too the years shall cover, thou shalt be as the rose born of one of the same blood with thee, as a song sung, as a word said, and fall flower-wise, and be not any more at all, nor any memory of thee anywhere, for never muse has bound above thine hair the high Pierian flower, whose graft outgrows all summer kinship of the mortal rose, and colour of deciduous days, nor shed reflex and flush of heaven above thine head, nor reddened brows made pale by floral grief, with splendid shadow from the lordier leaf. Yea, thou shalt be forgotten like spilt wine, except on these kisses of my lips on thine. Brand them with immortality, but me men shall not see bright fire, nor hear the sea, nor mix their hearts with music, nor behold, cast forth of heaven with feet of awful gold, and plumeless wings that make the bright air bind, lightning with thunder for a hound behind, hunting through fields unfurrowed and unsown, but in the light and laughter and the moan, and music in the grasp of lip and hand, and shudder of water that makes felt on land the immeasurable tremor of all the sea. Memories shall mix, and metaphors of me. Like me shall be the shuddering calm of night, when all the winds of the world for pure delight close lips that quiver and fold up wings that ache, when nightingales are louder for love's sake, and leaves that tremble like lute strings or like fire, like me the one star swooning with desire. Even at the cold lips of the sleepless moon, as I at thine, like me the waste white noon, burnt through the barren sunlight, and like me the land stream and the tide stream in the sea. I am sick with time, as these with ebb and flow, and by the yearning in my veins I know the yearning sound of water, and mine eyes burn as the beamless fire which fills the skies with troubled stars and travailing things of flame, and in my heart the grief consuming them labors, and in my veins the thirst of these, and all the summer travail of the trees, and all the winter sickness, and the earth filled full with deadly works and deadly birth, sore sent with hungry lusts of birth and death, has pain like mine in her divided breath. Her spring of leaves is barren, and her fruit ashes, her boughs are burdened, and her root fibrous and gnarled with poison underneath. Serpents have gnawed it through tortuous teeth, made sharp upon the bones of all the dead, and wild birds rend her branches overhead. These woven as raiment for his words and thought, these hath God made me as these and wrought. Song and hath lit it at my lips and me. Earth shall not gather, though she feed on thee. As a shed tear shall thou be shed, but I, lo, earth may labor, men live long and die. Years change stars, and the high God devise new things, and old things wane before his eyes. Who wields and wrecks them, being more strong than they, but having made me shall not say, nor slay, nor satiate like those herds of his who laugh and live a little at their kiss, contents them, and their loves are swift and sweet, and sure death grasps and gains them with slow feet. Love they or hate they, strive or bow their knees, and all these ends he hath his will of these. Yea, but albeit he slay me, hating me, albeit he hide me in the deep dear sea, and cover me with cool wan foam and ease, this soul of mine as any soul of these, and give me water, and great sweet waves, and make the very sea's name lordlier for my sake, the whole sea sweeter, albeit I die indeed, and hide myself in sleep, and no man heed of me. The high God hath not all his will, blossom of branches, and each on the high hill, clear air and wind under the clamorous vales, fierce noises of fiery nightingales, buds burning in the sudden spring like fire, the one wash the sand and waves vain desire, sails seen like blown white flowers at sea, and words that bring tears, swiftest and long notes of birds, violently singing till the whole world sings. I, Sappho, shall be the one with all these things, with all high things forever, and my face seen once my song once heard in a strange place, cleave to men's lives and waste the days thereof, with gladness and much sadness and long love. Yea, they shall say, earth's womb has borne in vain new things, and never this the best thing again. Born days and men born fruits and wars and wine, seasons and songs, but nor songs more like mine. And they shall know me as ye who have known me here, last year when I loved Athis, and this year when I love thee, and they shall praise me and say, she hath all time as all we have our day. Shall she not live and have her will, even I? Yea, though thou diest, I say I shall not die, for these shall give me of their souls, shall give life and the days and loves wherewith I live, shall quicken me with loving, fill with breath, save me and serve me, strive for me with death. Alas, that neither moon, nor snow, nor dew, nor all cold things that can purge me wholly through, assuage me, nor allay me, nor appease, till supreme sleep shall bring me bloodless ease, till time wax faint in all his periods, till fate undo the bondage of the gods, and lay to slate to satiate me all through, lotus and lathe on my lips like dew, and shed around and over and under me thick darkness and the insuperable sea. So that was pretty intense. It covered quite a lot of ground, but you can sort of see where this is coming from with the, sort of cannibalistic, sadomasochistic tendencies, although it's kind of hard to tell how much of the sadomasochism is part of, and granted, I haven't read anything by Sappho, and maybe I should, especially after having read this, to get more context. But if I had, I'd probably have a better idea of how much of the sadomasochism is meant to be literal, and how much of the cannibalism, I imagine, is mostly metaphorical, but how much of that is meant to be like a sort of kink, and how much is meant to be metaphor of, like, I love you so much I could eat you, how much is sort of meant to be dramatized, although she does talk a lot about Algernon Swineburne's the one who wrote this. And it's interesting having him having written it from Sappho's perspective, because I do notice as I read this that I think more of Sappho than Algernon, but I guess that just says that he's particularly good at writing poems from different perspectives. It also reminds me a bit of a poem that I have written and read out loud on this channel called Lilith, from the perspective of, Lilith from one version of the Adam and Eve stories, is that when Adam was created, he was created with an equal Lilith, and then sort of Lilith's perspective on Adam, because these old tales say that Lilith had to be cast out of Eden because she wanted to be equal to him and did not want to submit to him. And the way that Sappho is portrayed in this, wanting to be that sort of more dominant but still, sexually dominant role, reminded me a lot of some of those kind of stories. But also bringing up a lot of questioning God, and there's obviously a spiritual struggle here, and again, I don't know how much of that is him and how much of that is Sappho. So it could be that Sappho had poetry or anything that indicated that she was struggling with religion and spirituality and whether or not God existed, or maybe Algernon himself had these struggles that he wrote into his poems. So it's interesting when you look at a poem that's meant to be from someone else's perspective, how the line gets a little blurred. How much is the person whose perspective it's from, and how much is you, or whoever the writer is. It's sort of the same thing with any work of fiction, how much is the writer and how much is the character, especially with a lot of writers who write characters that are very similar to themselves. Sometimes it can be very hard to tell. So that's, I guess, something to think about for today. For those of you who are doing 30 poems in 30 days like I am, a poem every day, prompt for you out of this is try and write a poem from the perspective of a historical figure, or a fictional character, or just from the perspective of someone who's not you, someone whose story you know well, and try and get into their head. I think it's kind of a fun exercise, and sometimes you can get some really good poems out of it. So, yeah, and that's it for today. I'll see you guys next time.